Do your waves look flat and lifeless? Are you frustrated with trying to capture that dynamic energy of breaking water in your paintings? Most artists struggle with three critical elements when painting seascapes: the transparency of water, the chaotic patterns of foam, and that magical glow when sunlight hits the wave's edge and the white water. In this video, I'm going to demonstrate how to solve all three of these problems with my simple 4-step process with this seascape painting here that's inspired by a place called Fraser Beach in Australia. Now, when you're painting a seascape, one of the first things to consider is the positioning of your horizon line. It's really important that we don't place the horizon line right in the middle of the canvas, so it's equal parts sea and foreground and equal parts sky. That just looks really displeasing from a composition perspective. So in this case, I've placed the horizon line slightly higher. So you either go for a higher horizon or a lower horizon. That applies to landscapes as well. Now I'm sketching out the composition here using burnt sienna mixed with a bit of oleo gel. And the brand of paint that I'm using is Blue Ridge oil paints, and if you want to get some, I'll put a link in the description box below. And I'm painting on an 11" by 14" linen canvas panel, which I got from SourceTech at canvaspanels.com. And again, if you want to get some, I've put a link in the description box below. Now that the composition has been sketched out, it leads on to our first step, which is painting your dark values and shadows first. Now the reason this is important is it sets a whole tonal framework for your painting. Because if we're getting our values correct, value is how light or dark your subject is, it's going to make it a lot easier to get the recession of landforms in your painting. So for example, we'll find our darkest darks and our lightest lights in the foreground, and you can see that in the dark shadows here in the rocks. Yet as landforms recede, the darks aren't as dark and the lights aren't as light. So the cliff in the background is actually relatively close, but the shadows there are going to be slightly lighter than the shadows in the rocks. And then the clouds in the distance, the cloud shadow there is way lighter. Now for the rocks, I've used a mix of ultramarine blue with a little bit of burnt sienna and some alizarin crimson, and I used the same colours for the shadows in the cliff, but I also added a little bit of titanium white just to make the value lighter. Now at this point in the painting, I'd got in all my dark values first, so this leads on to step number 2, which is use loose brushwork. So the way to do this is to use the biggest brushes that you can get away with or that you feel comfortable with. So here for this painting, I was using number 6 bristle flat brushes and even number 8 flat brushes as well, so quite big for the size of the canvas panel that I'm painting on. Now if you're someone that's really struggling with making your artwork overly detailed, too detailed in fact, and you want to loosen up your brushwork, this is the best way to do it. Start using the biggest brushes that you can get away with in the blocking stage and don't worry about detail at all. You've got plenty of time that you can add detail later on in the painting once it's dry, and you can go as loose or as detailed as you like. So I've found that this has made things a lot easier. So first of all, I was painting the rocks and focusing on them, and for the areas of the rocks that are in light, I've actually used the same colours that I used for the shadow areas, so combinations of ultramarine blue with burnt sienna, titanium white and a little alizarin crimson. I actually also even added a small amount of yellow ochre in places just to add some of those warmer tones in there. And the same for the cliffs in the background. I was making sure that the colours are not overly saturated, and this is especially important for rocks because most rocks have low chroma colours, chroma being another word for saturation. Now the next thing I was doing here was painting the sky. Initially I put some clouds in the scene, but then I decided that they really just weren't working and I decided to take them out. The actual reference photos that I used, the day was really sunny and there's barely a cloud in the sky, so I decided to just go for the sky in the background. Now for the sky I used a mix of ultramarine blue with a little cobalt teal and some titanium white. And then it was onto the cliffs and starting to paint some of the vegetation there. For this I used combinations of yellow ochre with cadmium yellow medium and ultramarine blue, then some titanium white to not only desaturate the colour but also to lighten the value as well. And then I mixed in other colours such as cobalt teal and alizarin crimson. This is to help balance the green, especially the alizarin crimson, because the red is opposite to green on the colour wheel, so it helps to desaturate the green and make it look more natural. Now for painting the ocean, the main part of this painting. So first of all, I was just getting the main sea colours down, and I found that combinations of yellow ochre with ultramarine blue, titanium white and phthalo green make really nice ocean colours. You can also mix in other colours such as cobalt teal and even a little bit of burnt sienna if needed. But the ocean here is mainly a turquoise blue colour. Now then, how to paint that transparent water? Well, it starts here in the blocking in stage, and at the top of the wave I've used a combination of ultramarine blue with a little bit of phthalo green, a lot of titanium white and just a dash of yellow ochre, and then I've just added more ultramarine blue and phthalo green as I've worked my way forward in the painting to darken the value of the wave and increase the saturation. So getting that transparency in the water starts in the blocking stage. Now when it comes to painting the foam patterns, this also starts in the blocking stage as well, and I've left a few gaps here in the water so that I can begin painting the foam patterns. And for this I've used a mix of titanium white but also with a little bit of ultramarine blue, burnt sienna and alizarin crimson just to darken the value a bit, and then I'm going to add my lighter layers later on in the painting. Now the same goes for the white water as well, so in order to get the glow in this we've got to start off darker, so making sure that we're not using pure titanium white just yet. We don't want to use our lightest values right away, we'll save that until the end. But painting the wave and being able to get the glow in the wave starts here. So again, it's titanium white with a little bit of burnt sienna, some ultramarine blue and alizarin crimson to darken the tone a little bit, and then as I work through the painting I can build up lighter layers of paint. Now if you're struggling with your landscape painting and you're having difficulty painting the artworks that you'd imagined and painting with confidence, then check out my art school, which is all about helping you to improve your landscape paintings so that your paintings have the wow factor and be good enough to sell. There's weekly live painting classes, painting critiques and tons of painting tutorial videos. Right now I'm giving away a 7-day free trial, just click the link below to join. Step number 3, and this is where we're modelling and adding details. So as I said earlier, I wasn't happy with the sky and clouds, so I painted over the clouds and just left it as sky. And then what I started to do was start modelling. So this is where I'm adding more details to the various zones within the painting, building up those layers, especially within the rocks. So building up some lighter tones, it's going to add more dimension to the rocks, make them look more realistic and three-dimensional. And then also I'm just making adjustments to certain shapes and elements within the painting. There's other things to be done, like restating some of the dark values and adding more shadows to the rocks. I'm also using synthetic flat brushes, which is going to add more detail as it has a more defined edge. Then I worked on the cliffs in the background, adding more of that vegetation but adding lighter layers of paint here. So this is all part of the modelling and adding details stage. Now if you're struggling to create depth and distance in your paintings and they're just looking flat, this is all related to tonal values, the lights and darks in the scene. As I said, we'll find our darkest darks and our lightest lights in the foreground, and then as landforms recede, darks aren't as dark and lights aren't as light. When it comes to colour, we'll find our most intense colours, most saturated colours in the foreground, yet as landforms recede into the distance, the colours become less intense and more desaturated. So when it came to painting that cliff in the background, I was adding some more details and lighter tones on top of the darker ones I'd added, which was making it look more realistic. When you're painting a landscape, it's always best to start off darker and then work light. So start off with your darkest tones, keep everything darker in the painting and then build up lighter layers, and then save your lightest lights until the very end, and that way you'll have a lot more depth and distance in your paintings and you won't end up with flat looking paintings. Now then, back to the breaking wave here. So one of the ways that I've made the water look more translucent is to add another layer of paint to the upper section of the breaking wave. Again, using the same colours that I was using before, but lighter in value. So that's going to help to make it look like it's clear, translucent water. And then back to the foam patterns. And I'm using combinations of titanium white with a little burnt sienna, a little alizarin crimson and a little ultramarine blue. Only this time a lot less than the initial layers, so I'm building up those lighter layers, and that's going to help to make the foam patterns look more realistic and engaging. The other thing as well is I've used the foam patterns to help lead the eye towards the breaking wave. Now then, how do we get the glow in the breaking waves? Well, this is where step number 4 comes into being, and that's to save your lightest values until last. I've started off the painting darker and then I've built up lighter tones, so now I can add my lightest layers of paint to the foam patterns and the breaking waves. For this I use a combination of titanium white with just a little bit of yellow ochre in it. And to create that glowing effect, I've added sparingly these lightest layers of paint. Also, I've dry brushed some of the paint around the breaking waves to create the illusion of spray and also a glowing effect. And with that, the painting was complete. Hope you enjoyed this video and it inspires you to paint some seascapes. If you'd like to learn more about painting seascapes, check out this video here. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.